We use the bike as a good cross-training modality. Rowing is glutes and quad centric, so obviously riding utilises those similar muscle groups. Putting a bike and staying head up that hill basically means that you have to work out the rhythm and the speed that you can hold for a big climb. We use big hills like Buang for like a long threshold period of time, so you get your climbing rhythm. I think that's important. You've got to pick your own rhythm for the hour or so that it's going to take you to climb 1,000 metres and settle into a sort of threshold heart rate for that amount of time. The gradient doesn't flatten off at any point, so you just have to grind up the hill, keep spinning, keep the rhythm going, and that's sort of similar to when we get in the groove with rowing. So we train on the Yarra, which is in the middle of Melbourne, because Melbourne is one of the best cities in the world. So we all have very busy, active lives whereby people row in the morning and then head off to uni or work, and you train right in the middle of the city so you can balance your life.
With the rowers' strength and conditioning programs, the key thing is probably to have an understanding of what they're trying to achieve. So it always starts out with almost an overview of the end performance. So what age the athlete is, what their experience is, their history of physical preparation. Are they an experienced Olympic medal winning athlete, or are they a novice athlete just progressing from a club? And then looking a little bit further into that, into what their movement patterns are like, what they can do, what they can't do. And probably right at the start, sitting down with the coach in terms of what are they looking for in terms of this athlete's progression.
I think Karen provides a really important opportunity for us to practice race-specific work on a 2K stretch. The competitive nature of it enables us to harness that competitive edge that we have as elite athletes naturally, but to harness it in the right sense so we can practice with the stress of having people next to us side by side is key to any sort of preparation, because ultimately what we race is 2K side by side. So the more we can do of that, the better prepared we'll be. I think training in general, we're always searching for something different each session, because as athletes we're always wanting to improve and we're always wanting to be the best we can be. Sometimes that means focusing on similar things that we've been working on in past, but usually it involves focusing on something different.
I think obviously the ergo is one of the main, training modes for rowing. Everyone says the ergos don't float, which is true, but there is always a certain confidence in being strong on the machine that you get in the boat. And I've always sort of had the idea that, I think it was Crouch, or someone mentioned that it was one of Crouch's ideas about sort of thinking about technique while you're on the erg. That you do a lot of Ks on the ergo and they can be really mindless Ks, and you can potentially get into some pretty damaging habits just banging away at it. And so I've always tried to keep it pretty simple but pretty directed about what I'm doing. And I think actually that's helped me in the boat as well, bringing that from the erg into the boat.
A typical session on the Yarra Or we do a range of different things. You've got upstream and downstream. So in the warm-up, we'll usually do 3 or 4 Ks to get up to the island, or to go out towards Balti Bridge, depending on where we're going to do our workload. And it's usually, for me, it's about working through the slide lengths, making sure I've got my separation off the back, I've got my order of sequence all set up, stretching out.
It's getting an idea of where their technical limitations are in the boat, and the positions they can and can't get into, so that they have enough range to be able to get that pack up and compression at the catch. What's the posture like at the back turn? What's their sequencing like?
And also while I'm warming up, I have a look at the speeds for that day. So it'll be relative to the wind and the water. And then I work out where I'm comfortable sitting that day, where's my target speed range, and I try and any technical improvements I do on length or speed off that baseline.
The targeted work that the sports science people here has been so amazing and has helped so much, especially as we can get that type of feedback straight away. It gives the session a lot more worth, and it gives you something to focus on. You don't just do the session, oh, that was hard, and then forget about it. So it forces you to reflect on the session, and then you can reflect on, okay, well, what have I done well? What do I need to keep doing? And what do I need to improve on? And I think that is the difference between a lot of training environments, is the ability to go back and reflect on your session and have that sort of feedback.
We track heart rate variability every morning, which is a measure of a resting heart rate in the morning, and it can be an early detector of fatigue and also an early detector of training adaptation as well.
At this level, it's very much an individual approach to the needs of each athlete, and the training loads and the prescription through the week really does reflect that. Each of the 3 sessions during the day will target a certain adaptation, and there will be some balancing between the needs of the individual and the squad. Typically, the group might train on the river in the morning, doing some targeted individual work or a little bit of teamwork depending on what the focus is. They could then head over to the VIS for some conditioning work under the direction of our sports scientists for a second session in the morning, and take off to uni or work for a few hours during the day. In the evening's usually a gym session or another conditioning session. It's a great learning environment which helps us build athletes sustainably over time.
And once I have that detail from the coach, this is what he sees from a coaching perspective, and these are things we'd like them to do, is then also have a look at the information that we get from the medical screening, and what the physio tells us in terms of their physical limitation. And part of that process as well is involving them and trying to engage them in that process. So actually sitting them down and asking them, what do they want from the program? What do they think the areas are they need to work on? Because then you've got, that cross comparison. Well, this is what the coach says they need. Do they recognise that? And are they on the same page?
The closer you are in terms of training environment to someone, the probably more you egg each other on. Like even internationally, you hear about a few people doing something on the ergo, and you're like, oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool to knock them off. And then nationally, you kind of have a bit of competition with people in other training centres and things like that. But then mainly within sort of the training squad, I think we're all obviously have the same goals, and there are definitely times where we're in really stark competition, but most of the time we're all trying to push each other on, and sitting beside someone, particularly someone you're rowing a boat with, like Boothie for me, you definitely find a little bit extra.
Carum's really been a little sanctuary for us where we can test our boat speeds. Now, typically when we get down there, we'll head out for 20 to 24 Ks with a fair bit of work on the program, have a bit of a break and some coffee, and then head out for a tech session or maybe a test of our top end speed when we put the foot down. Sometimes that second session will be in crew boats, opportunity to test some combos and get out there and figure out how to move together a little better. And sometimes we'll also do a little bit of race work at the back end of that. It's really about creating some time and space for the athletes to think and feel what they're doing in an environment that allows them to do so.
Right, so heat training, there's lots of evidence showing that it can improve endurance performance in the heat. More recently, we've sort of come across some evidence knowing that it can improve performance in sort of all conditions. So we use the heat tent. We know it sort of gives us some really strong adaptations in terms of lowering exercising heart rate, the perceived exertion and all that sort of thing. We get big increases in blood plasma volume, which we know can enhance endurance performance.
VIS TV. Join us for more in this Olympic year.